No worries. So, Potter's House is set up for many different things. So we serve a very global mission. Our setup, first of all, is not just geared toward the United States, but it is to really speak to the hearts and minds of people, believers and non-believers, all over the world. So we have to be very intentional about our setup.
Yeah.
In my department, I oversee all of the creative elements. So that's the singing, the dancing, the drama, the musicians. A lot of what you see when you watch comes out of my department. The only thing that we don't necessarily involve ourselves with is the preaching. Bishop can handle that all by himself. But I have a great array of staff members. I have about 30 staff members altogether that serve in many different capacities, from the children's ministry to the youth ministry to the main stage. And then some that serve in positions like backline. They make sure that all of our instruments and equipment is well taken care of. They monitor it. They make sure, acoustic instruments stay in tune. They replace, they repair. They kind of oversee all of that. And then above that, I have, so the staff is kind of broken down into 4 different segments. So then I have the dance staff. And so I have a director of dance, and she oversees those areas for the children and the youth. And so we have a hip hop dance team. We have a liturgical dance team. We have a professional dance team. We have a pageantry or amateur dance team. And so she works all that. Then I have a second area as a drama area. And in my drama, my artistic director oversees our actors, our writers. We have a makeup department.
Sorry, please, could you go over? Sorry, Oscar, could you go over the dance team again? The dance team.
Yeah. So in our dance team, it's broken down into several different layers. So we have dance groups by age. So we have our children's dance team, then we have our young adult, and then we have our adults. Okay. And in each one, we have different sectors. So in the adults, they'll break down to those that want to do hip hop dance. We have those that are liturgical. They just want to do, kind of church dance. Then we have a professional group, those that study professional. We have a group for them. And then we have a kind of amateur group that we call the pageantry. And they are kind of the ones that when you come into the ministry and maybe you don't know how to dance and you want to learn, so you can join that ministry, and they kind of do a lot of the praise and worship stuff.
Okay.
And then in each sector, they have their own kind of makeup set up to accommodate what they need. And it's similar to the others. So in drama, we have kind of the same thing. So they're the writers, they're the actors, the makeup artist. And then music-wise, my band, all of my band are staff members. So, full band, keyboard, drums, bass, organ, lead guitar. And then but that's in each area. So the children's ministry has the same setup. The youth ministry, bass, drum, guitar, lead, and a director and a worship leader. And then at the main, the same thing. And so each of those persons, they also have multiple.
And each of these age groups are all full-time?
Yeah, well, some are full-time, depending on their workload. Some are full-time, some are part-time. Most of them are full-time, some they are part-time. So pretty much everybody in the main band is full-time, but they have multiple jobs as well. So one person could be bass player, and he's also our endorsement dealer, which means he works to find us endorsements through companies, Korg, Yamaha, Nord, and so the benefit of having like a Nord on our stage is the exposure that it gets. So his job is to work to find those partnerships find those relationships and bring them back. Then the other guy, my drummer, he also does our kind of church choir. So the digital choir, all of this set up, he works with that. He does a lot of productions for us. So, you know, they might do a lot of pre-recording. There are also studio engineers. So any type of stems that we need to do, any type of recording that we need to do, they'll handle that. And so then there is the kind of singer side. So we have a worship director, and she oversees all of our worship leaders. And under her, she has worship leaders that work in several different areas for the youth, for the children, and then assist her. And then I have administration staff where I have a direct administrator who kind of handles all my administration needs. And then I have a volunteer administrator, someone who oversees all our volunteer needs. So the volunteers have a direct liaison to me where they can hit that person up if they're needed anything. And that's pretty much it. And I have that. So we have multiple campuses. So I really have that at each campus. I oversee 2 campuses. And I have the same design at both campuses, same type of setup.
Wow. So I get the impression that, for example, and for all of you listening, please pay attention. I get the impression that you have a full-time band, instrumentalist, and for example, your drummer is not just playing drums on Sunday. He doubles up to handle each church choir, handles the stems and the studio. Your bassist, for example, is not just playing on Sundays. He doubles up as the endorsement dealer. Is that what you said?
Yes, absolutely. And he also does production work. So he will, when we do a pre-record, he will take it, and he's also our mixer. So he'll mix what we do and serve it to our TV team to be kind of the music bed for our broadcast.
Interesting. So what then? So let's ask the question: what is directorship, or what is it about your work? What do you coordinate? Tell us. What do you coordinate?
Me? Well, so I coordinate it all. My job is to make sure that it functions. My job is to make sure that I cast vision and I give us something to shoot towards. My job is to make sure that that we work in accordance with Bishop Jake's vision. My job is to sit with him. My job is to download from him and to get where the church is going and hear the vision of God through him, and then to articulate it to my team and to say, hey, so this is where God is leading Bishop in this next season, and this is how we should follow, and this is how we'll support it. So this is the type of music that we will do. These are the type of productions that we will do. And that's my role. And to kind of be the disciplinarian, all of us on here, I'm just amazed at the number of people. It's about 220 people on here, and that's amazing to me to see all of you all and connect with you all. And we all are creative, so we know that we all can be a bit to deal with at times. We are, opinionated.
Yeah.
We are expressive. We are passionate.
Yeah.
If we have an idea, we have a song, we have something we want to do. Like, it's hard to change our minds, and so you have to have somebody that's leading, that's able to say, hey, so all of these ideas are great, all of these ideas are wonderful, but we can only work on this one, and this is the direction that we're going. And you have to be strong enough as a leader to say it sternly, but say it in love, and to not make people feel ostracized or diminished, or to not devalue people's gifts, but to be able to reiterate to your staff or to your team or to your group that everybody is valued though we may only focus on this concept, this project at this time.
My God. Part of what we'll be doing tonight is Koda would also be asking questions aside answering some of the questions. So before I defer to Koda to ask some of the questions, so let's talk about who is an instrumentalist from where you sit. Who is a church instrumentalist and what is expected of a church instrumentalist?
That's a great question. So a church instrumentalist, well, I'll answer that generally, and then I'll answer that for the church I serve at. I think an instrumentalist is someone that needs to be competent and capable of facilitating a worship service for where they serve. So what does that mean? If I get hired at a church and the church I get hired at is big on traditional music or, very structured type of music, then I need to be able, as an instrumentalist, facilitate and accommodate the need of that church. If I get hired at a church that wants a lot of worship music, and they're not as structured and they don't want to sing, hymns or, things of that nature, they just want to do a lot of prophetic flow. Well, I need to be able to, as an instrumentalist, whether I play the piano or drums or bass, I need to be able to tap into that, because prophetic ministries are not easy. Some people don't thrive well when they are put in an environment where it's heavily prophetic, because there's no real structure to that sometimes. It is what the Holy Spirit is speaking at that moment, and you have to stay sensitive to his voice, sensitive to the move, and be able to flow with it. And it's a lot about spontaneity. If that's not an environment that works for you, then you're not a fit instrumentalist for that place. So instrumentalist, it varies. It really depends on where you're serving and what the need is of the church or place or pastor or artist you're serving with. Now, for Potter's House, an instrumentalist is someone that really is highly skilled, because we can go from really stuck down, hardcore church, to singing anthems, to doing stuff on CNN and supplying music that can go under Bishop when he has to do, a national address. And so I need an instrumentalist that is so versatile that they know how to wear different hats. They can read music. They're familiar with charts. They can play by ear, that they can play as a studio musician and be very structured. They can play as a live musician and go with the flow. They can be sensitive to the spirit and tap into the prophetic mode and use their instrument as a prophetic voice to set captives free. Like it takes a lot. It is though, my expectation of an instrumentalist is really high. And I hold them to that. And I fired some guys not because they weren't good people. They were amazing people, but I fired them because fired is a harsh word. I let them go. That's a better word. I had to let them go because what I knew the house needed, they could not facilitate. And you never want to hold the house hostage to the inability of your gift to give it what it needs. A lot of times we are serving our ego, and our ego would make us try to stay in a place while we disservice what the house really needs. And we got to pray against ego and say, God, this is not about me. If I am not fit for this work, then either put me where I am fit, or then increase my gift or the capacity of my gift so that I can be of service to wherever you have me.
Wow. Let me just summarize something you just said. So before I leave, I hand over to Koda to also ask some questions. You said, if I get it right, don't hold your church house, don't hold your house, the house you are serving in, don't hold your church hostage because of an incompetent instrumentalist who is not facilitating or serving the vision of the house. Did I get you right?
Yes.
Great. Koda.
You know, a lot of things were running through my mind as you were speaking because, okay, so here's my question. Do you think the way we are brought up musically affects the way sometimes we are malleable? I say that because I noticed that for persons that have had formal education in music, and you've had that, when you go to piano school, you don't play what you want to play. A chart is played, it's not a chart, that's the stuff. It's placed in front of you, and you play what is written in there. And if it grows from there and you have to play classical music, sometimes you are given, take the person that plays a triangle in an orchestra. So he doesn't play throughout the whole song. He gets to play at particular junctions, and for the rest of the period, there might be rest throughout the music.
Yeah.
So a person like that is very structured in the way he sees music. He thinks that you don't just play because you feel like playing, but you play because it has to be played at that particular point in time.
Yeah.
Contrasting it with somebody that's learned totally by ear and hasn't had any formal education, their perspective to music is, what are you feeling? And so for a person like that, one day he feels an F minor chord, the next day he thinks that no, F major sounds better. And so it's what comes to it. And maybe that's where Edwin was teasing me because I'm from the structured world, I struggle with unstructured music. So then the question to you is that, how does somebody who is from a structured world adapt to some of these changes where things have to be done on the spur of the moment? And then there are two keyboard players, and one feels a 6, one feels a 4. And the clash of those chords makes me cringe.
Right.
So that's a great question. And here's where I will challenge you, because when we stop being students, we limit ourselves from growing the capacity of the gift God gave us. And so if where my gift began in a structured environment, the way God designed me is that in order to be stretched, I will find difficulty in unstructured environments, because that is where my deficiencies show. And what I need to do is I need to invert that thinking and say, okay, God, thank you for putting me in a position that will cause my gift to expand, and not look at, and so part of it sometimes, and I don't know if it's like this in Ghana, but it's definitely like this in the United States. Sometimes trained musicians can look down on untrained musicians.
Oh, the same everywhere.
So you went to school. Oh, you got your degree. Oh, you didn't go to school. And so that dynamic is real. And the thing is, the only thing that schooling helped me to do was discipline myself enough to understand my craft more. That rather than being just able to do it, I knew the call on my life was to teach others how to do it. And so I went to school not necessarily to play better or to learn better. I went to school because I wanted the tools to be able to teach people and to be an inspiration and a mentor to people. And I wanted the language that would equip me to help people get better at what they do. But at the same time, even with all of that, sometimes when I listen to my musicians at church play, I am intimidated because they can play circles around me. And now I have an earned doctorate degree, but they play better. So who's more valuable? Well, The Bible says, how can the hand say to the foot, we have no need of you? Every joint supplies. And so when we take the attitude that in whatever gift that you bring, if God has caused us to connect at whatever level, there is something in you that will be edifying to me, that will help me get better. And likewise, there's something in me that will be edifying to you to help you get better. And so, hey, help me with this unstructured. Like, what are you thinking about? Before I got on this, I had a writing session with my team at church. And I made each person go around and talk about what their strengths were. And then after we talk about our strengths, I said, now, what are your weaknesses? Because we have to expose to each other where our strengths lie and where our weaknesses lie, so that we don't turn on each other when we encounter a weakness. The trust of a team is that I can expose.
Could you repeat that, please? Could you please repeat that for us again?
Yes. So it is important that in any group, any gathering, whether it's musicians or singers or church, that we build a culture of trust, that we can share with each other our strengths and expose to each other our weaknesses, so that we don't turn on each other when our weakness is exposed. Because I've already told you, hey, Kofi, man, when it comes to fast songs, that's not my strength. So that if we're writing or something is happening and we get to a fast song, I got to cover Oscar because he's already told me that's not his strength. And instead of exposing him or instead of devaluing him, I'm going to honor the fact that he trusted me enough to be transparent with me and then help him get better. Now, the other side, Oscar then has to say, okay, I have to be humble enough to admit where my weakness is and to become a student instead of the teacher. I can teach you about structure, but the problem is a lot of us don't want to become students. We want to be a master at everything. And when there comes something that we have not mastered, it makes us feel deficient. And then instead of humbling ourselves, we then turn negativity toward it and say, oh, that ain't nothing. Oh, why do they do it like that? No, we have to become students. Okay, God, the table is turned. I am no longer the teacher. I am the student. You have put me in a situation where I don't know, and I need to learn, even from those that I'm leading. And I had to learn this as a leader, that just because I was a leader doesn't mean that I had to have everything right. Just because I am the boss doesn't mean I have all the answers. And it's important for me to be vulnerable with my team to the point where I can admit to them, hey, you take lead on this. Whatever you say we're going to do, because this is your area of expertise. When the guy that does the e-church choir, the digital stuff, when he's doing something, hey, you tell us how you want us to be done, whatever you want, because that's your world. And I am intentionally becoming a student and giving you the keys of leadership so that you can feel empowered and so that I can learn and not be intimidated by you knowing something that I don't have mastery in.
Oh my God. My God.
Pastor Edwin.
Yes.
Please summarize that thing before I ask my next question. If I picked anything from it, I will tell you this, that then it's important that people who have had formal education in music, one very important point he made is that it doesn't make you a superior musician. I mean, I can confidently say David doesn't know how to read no stuff, but he wrote all the songs. So being a musician is broader than being able to do the formal side of it. And then I love the fact that he's also making us understand that we are all parts of a puzzle that fits together.
Yes.
So no matter how dexterous I am on piano, I may struggle with certain kinds of music.
Right.
Let me tell you this joke. So we did a recording in the US in 2017. And then we did more straight praise and worship stuff. We did some African stuff, and all that worked for me. We're two guitarists. Ironically, the other guitarist I played with was Leo, and at that time, he was playing in the Potter's house. And then we got to this. Oh, you know Leo?
Absolutely. He's one of my staff.
Okay, I'll go ask him about you. I mean, that's my guy. So then we got to this Black American bump, and I turned and looked at Leo and said, Leo, that ain't happening for me.
You're a Ghanaian, my brother.
I said, Leo, no. He said, Koda, try it. I said, no. I said, no. I mean, later, after we did the concert, I got him to teach me a few riffs that I could do. But that was not the time to, you see, and we're two guitarists that were playing on stage. And there was no need to meddle with the sound and make the thing all diluted just because I wanted to prove a point that I was a good guitarist too. But I could turn my guitar down and make Leo play the thing, and it worked for that purpose.
Wow.
That's good. That's good.
I mean, something you said when we stop being students, we limit our God-given capacity. And that's so true, because in your later explanation, you help us to understand that even you as the whole director of the creative arts and music, you don't mind putting aside your doctorate degree to go and learn from these smart guys, because you are always a student. Instrumentalists, please listen, it's so key. Always a student. So the fact that I am selected to play or I'm on the keyboard does not mean I'm a master and I cease to learn.
Yeah.
Oh my word. Oh my word.
Pastor Edwin, I have another question, and I think maybe this will help some of our music directors out there. Dr. Oscar, how would you handle a situation like this? In Ghana, there are a lot of scenarios like that where the music director, maybe unlike your case, is not a proficient musician himself. Pastor Edwin, you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So he doesn't play guitar, he doesn't play keys, none of that. And he's leading a music team. And you know how it is, where some keyboardist or guitarist thinks that they know better than what the music director is doing. How do you keep yourself from getting intimidated by an instrumentalist like this? Because sometimes they get out of hand.
Sometimes.
You mean it's all the time?
Well, you know, that is a real situation. It is a great question. And one that I encounter a lot when I talk to leaders. And so the first thing is, part of that really starts with the person themselves. You have to realize that you are enough. If you are not confident in who God has called you to be and the assignment that He's given you, no leadership class is going to help you. Because it starts with you. It starts with you understanding that if your pastor appointed you, if you were hired, if God ordained the moment to happen, that what God put in me is enough to handle this assignment. Because if you don't get that, you will spend your time competing and trying to find something that you can one up everybody else on. You're going to use your energy instead of leading people. You're going to be competing with them. And so it is the difference. Here, let me give you an analogy. There's what I am for my team is the coach. I used to, long time ago, run track, and I still love to run. So imagine when I take my team out on the field, I say, we're going to run the 100-yard dash, or we're going to run the relay. And I want you to be first leg, and I want you to do it. And I'm telling them, and I'm giving these assignments, and I want you whatever. And now when the gun is fired and they go, I'm on the sidelines coaching so that I can see everything that's happening. So that if we win or if we lose, when we come off of the track, I can say, hey, so this is what you did wrong. Hey, this is what we need to correct. Hey, when we go back into the huddle. What happens when a leader is intimidated is the leader jumps in the race. And now you, instead of coaching, now you jumped in the race and you're trying to compete with your team because you want to show them that you can outrun them. But the problem with that is there is no coach on the side to have the view of what we need to do to be better. And so now you have made your team a competitive thing. And now all of you all are competing to win the prize. And then when somebody wins, and let's just say you do win, let's just say you do find something that you outshine everybody else in. Now you're standing with the trophy against your whole team, but you distance yourself from them to prove something to you, not to them.
Yeah.
And you got to be confident enough in yourself to say, I may not can run as fast as you, I may not can jump as far as you, but what I can do is I can teach you and lead you to get better at what you're doing. And now here's the second thing. If you have somebody on your team that is unwilling to submit, unwilling to take leadership, then they don't belong on your team.
Use the word fire him.
What? I don't want to be harsh.
No, let my people go.
Let my people go. You know, your services are no longer needed because I am not willing to fight against that spirit of rebellion. That's the spirit of witchcraft. I'm not willing to manipulate you, and I'm not willing to fight against manipulation. If you feel like you can do this better than me, then you should go somewhere that they will hire you to do what I'm doing. But they hired me to do this job here. And so there can only be one person leading. And if what you know and all that you know is that much where you can't follow me, then already you're out of order, because God is a God of order. And now God is not going to put somebody over the lead or over the head. So that's not God, number one. And then number two, if you are that uncomfortable following me, then you should go find somebody that you can follow. Nobody's keeping you here. And if you need help finding that, then letting you go is my responsibility, so you can go and do and be who you need to be in Jesus.
Wow. I just love this. Dr.
Oscar. But now for the balance of it, because it's not just firing, but for the balance of it, for every leader on here, I do want to say it's not about firing anybody that has a different opinion than you. Or somebody that says, well, can't be, I'm just gonna get rid of everybody. If you don't think how I think, if you don't believe how I think, if you challenge me, whatever, it's not about that. It's really about, that's why I said it starts with you. Because if the deficiency lies in you, you could fire your whole team and you will still have the problem, because it's your self-esteem. It is only when you come to a place to be confident that, God, I'm not competing against who you called me to serve, that I'm able to value every gift that you put with me and put me with to collaborate with and to lead. I'm able to see their strengths. I'm able to help embellish their weaknesses, and we're able to grow together. And it's only at that place that as you grow that with a team, that you will then see where the cancers lie. And there might be somebody there that no matter how much you try to reach out, no matter how much you try to deflect, no matter how humble you are, that they are just a cancer, because they want your spot. And that's when you say, you know what, I've done all that I can to make this relationship work, but I realize that this is not the place for you. And so I'm going to have to do like Pharaoh did and release you, Israel, into the wilderness. And maybe you'll find your promised land, or maybe you'll wander around in the wilderness. I don't know, but I'm going to release you.
Oh my God.
Pastor Edwin.
Wow. Yes, Koda.
Pastor Edwin, so I have a question for you, and then for for Dr. Oscar too. I know, though we belong to the same denomination, I know the administrations are different from one assembly to the other. Now, I'm going to ask a touchy question. Because when Dr. Oscar was talking, I didn't hear him talk about the sound department.
Okay.
Are they under the music director or not? Because this is a thorny issue in some church I know about. When the sound guy believes he's not responsible to the music director, and the music director thinks otherwise, and there is confusion.
Right.
Pastor Edwin, what do you say?
Let's hear from Oscar.
You don't have those same problems. Y'all have those. Y'all have. You know what? I am convinced. I am convinced. Your statement just convinced me of something.
Tell me.
That, that you know, it's really a spirit. That's what I'm convinced of. Because here I do a lot of workshops in the States. And so everywhere I go, it's that same dynamic. There is this contention between the sound team and the music team. And I really thought it was a American problem. I thought it was
no.
And you just freed my mind. But and the reason why, and now even more so now, but when I would teach in workshops, I would say it is a spirit, because the harmony that needs to happen between those that produce the content and those that allow the content to be heard, if that is out of sync, then what is produced in the atmosphere is out of tune. And so here's the spiritual connection of that. The Bible tells us that Satan is the prince of the power of the air.
Yes, sir.
Where does sound live? Sound lives in the atmosphere, in the air. Okay? And so so now check this out. He's the prince of the power of the air. He's the prince of the power of the air. So the air has power. Where there is a prince, there's a king. So if he's the prince, that means there's somebody over him. Right. And we know that we serve the King of Kings. So the king is over the power of the air.
Yeah.
But I don't want you all to miss this. The air has power. And so now everything that gets into the space, the airspace, now is either contending with the prince or contending with something that's trying to take dominion in the space, in the airspace. All right? So
contending with the prince or let's get the last part again, please.
So anything that goes into the airspace is either contending with the prince of the power of the air, someone who has authority in there, or contending with all of these other particles, all of these other sounds, all of these other spirits, because now he's the prince. But now we know that there are other elements in the air. Then there are the angelic forces, there are the demonic forces. So you got all of this going in your atmosphere, in your mental space. Okay, there's a war. The Bible tells us there's this war going on. So now I get on my keyboard and I start to produce sound that has to go in the air. All right. And I got to harmonize with the person on the mixing board or the sound engineer, so that now, because my electric instrument needs amplification to expand into the air, and I got to rely on the person that's getting out there so it's not distorted. So where is the enemy going to cause confusion? He wants to disrupt how my sound gets into the air. And so if I can get the person producing the sound and the person who's amplifying the sound, if I can get them to be not on one accord, if I can get them to be in a disarray, then I can influence the sound going into the air, and it gives me more power to manipulate what the people hear, how they hear. You ever been at a concert or you ever been in a service and the sound was bad and you're like, oh, I can't hear it, and you got frustrated because you just wanted that sound to be right. And you thought You thought it was just the soundboard messing up. No, that's the enemy disrupting what's in the air to get your spirit frustrated so that you cannot be in a place to receive in your spirit what is supposed to be deposited. Because if I can get you to not focus on what they're saying or what they're teaching, and if I can get you to be so frustrated that it doesn't sound good, then you will miss the word of God through song or through word, because your attention now has moved, and all I did was frustrate how the sound was amplified. Or if I can get you, musician, to be so unnerved by your sound person that it messes with what you are producing, that instead of focusing on trying to bring heaven's sound to earth and let it sound through your keyboard or sound through your voice, you are more frustrated with the sound person that's amplifying you, then I can disrupt your flow from heaven. Because your ear is not attuned to God. Your ear is trying to make sure that the people can hear you. And again, now what has the enemy done? He has caused a disruption in the atmosphere. How do we fight it? It calls for intentional intercession. Now, not just intercession in praying, but intentional intercession through somebody put the spirit of unity. Absolutely. The intentional intercession where if I have to go to my sound person every Sunday, every Wednesday, every time we meet and say, you know what, can we pray together? Can we talk about, can we dialogue? Let's work toward this communication, because in order for this thing to work, you and I have to be on one accord. And if it causes for me, again, teach me what I don't know about your space. Because maybe I'm seeing what you're doing wrong. Maybe I don't know the complications that you have to deal with. And maybe I am judging you prematurely based off of information that I don't have. So instead of me looking at you as the enemy, let me embrace you as the friend and my cohort in the ministry. And before we get into this, let me value you enough to let you know you are so valuable. You're not just somebody that's sitting behind a soundboard. You are helping us produce a sound that's going to get heaven here to earth. You are so important to the process, because what I do, I need you to produce it and amplify it in a way that the people can hear it. So can we pray together? Can we get together? Can we communicate? Can we discuss? Can we try? So that when I'm up there playing, we on the same, and I know that I can trust that when you're back there engineering, that you're doing everything that you can to make sure that the sound is not interrupted when it goes out into the atmosphere.
Thank you so much. If you just join us, you are listening to Dr. Oscar Williams and Kofi Duanto Owusu bringing us God's mind concerning the music orientation in the body of Christ.
But how do you still haven't answered my question though?
On my part, okay,
so is the sound guy under the music director?
So I would say, I think that most of the time the structure of the church in terms of leadership and departmentalization differs from one place to the other.
Yes, I agree.
But I think that in our setting, the sound guy is under the music, because Oscar was talking about the content. If you look at the content that is produced in the church, music will take about 90%, and speech will take about 10% or 5%. Let's just give it that percentage, 5 or 10%. Then it means that the guy sitting behind the decks should know music and should have understanding about what the content that is being delivered it's about. So for our setting, the sound guy is under the music pastor and he reports to the music pastor. But his work is like that he's wired into the other technical crew and he's able to work together with them. But his instruction is from music, because majority of what we give in church is music. So that would be my answer to that. Thank you so much. Yes. So if we could move, pretty soon I'm going to just allow people to ask questions too. If we could move move this theology, this understanding of leadership, philosophy, and come home and make it a bit more practical in other areas some more. Let's look at what will be the best setup for you. Either you can speak to a concert, you can speak to a church service. What I mean by a setup, I mean a setup of your instrument or your instrumentalist. What should be the best position that the drummer should, if you look at where the drummer sits and you are comparing it to where the keyboard is sits or the basses sit, how will that positioning affect band cohesion if you are thinking that the director who is using the talk back is, let's say, the keyboard? How does setup affect band coordination and band cohesion? There's the two of you. So
okay, so let me
Koda.
handle it from the sound point of view. Now, personally, let me start with drums. I mean, we've done a live recording for you, Pastor Edwin, before, where I insisted that the drummer was not going to be placed behind you. And the reason why I am very particular about that is that cymbals have a lot of high frequencies, and they have the tendency of leaking into the background microphones and leaking into the lead microphones. So sometimes it's best to keep them off axis so they don't play directly into those microphones. I mean, that is for the drum. You get me? In the same way, if the band is not going to use in-ears, then we can't have things like an organ or a bass cabinet too close to the drums, because the microphones too are going to pick up all that rumble.
Right.
You get me? So that's it. Maybe that is what Dr. Oscar was talking about, that sometimes too, then the sound guy has his reasons for saying that, no, I don't want this thing this way. But maybe he should communicate it technically to you and make you understand that, oh, Pastor Edwin, if we place the percussion by the drum, he's going to leak into the hi-hat microphones and it will be all over the place. Can we place him at the opposite side, maybe by the guitar? Would that even work? Maybe by the bass cabinet or something, so we can do sound isolation.
The drummer says that myself and the percussion, we gel a lot. Some of the drummers say, oh, myself and the basses, we gel a lot, or myself and this so and so, we gel a lot.
It's not.
And so,
I mean, once we use in-ears, it's not about gelling, but we have to consider acoustics. You see, percussion is a loud instrument. I mean, it depends. If he's doing congas and stuff, that's pretty loud. That's heavy, high-mid information. If it's close to particular microphones, it will be all over the place. So these are considerations we really have to look at.
Great.
You get me? But when it comes to visibility, I think that we should feel free and place the band in a way where everybody can have eye contact. I work with one producer in the States, Sean. Sean's thing is that there's a talkback mic, but still your eyes need to move around, because not everything will be said in the talkback mic, because his eyes can simply look at you and go like, Koda, turn the guitar down.
Okay.
I mean, just with his eyes, so that we don't have to be because the talkback mic can be a bit distracting too sometimes.
Okay.
You get it? Sean Walters. How did the person know Sean Walters' name? Okay, so that was Sean Walters I was talking about. Wow. So some of these things must be taken into consideration, where we know that, okay, one, we are thinking about acoustics as we place the instruments around. The next thing, we are thinking about visibility. And I believe whoever is the MD of the band, if it's a keyboard player, must be in a position where he can see the music director who is conducting, and then can have eyesight to the band too. It's very important.
Wow.
Because not everything, I still believe not everything must be vocalized into the talkback mic. Some things are eye contact. We should be fine.
Great. We'll come to the question of what are the qualities an individual should develop if you want to be a good director of the band. But let's speak to that question. Okay. I asked first. Oscar, Dr. Oscar, to you. The positioning of the instrument or instrumentalist does that affect, how does that affect band cohesion and coordination?
Well, I think my brother answered it really, really well. It's one of those. There is no. It depends on the environment.
Yeah.
Acoustics are gauged by buildings, size, space allotment, and so one of the important things is a lot of times, especially in smaller churches, what I try not to do is put large expectations on ministries that are really trying to accommodate where they are, because a lot of times I think what happens is that we give these ministries a false sense of understanding. And so we'll say, okay, well, you need this, it needs to be 6 feet apart, it needs to be this, whatever. And they're trying to do that to accommodate the space that they're in, when really and truly what you want to do is make sure that wherever you are, your setup really is apropos for producing the best sound that you can. And I agree with my brother, some aesthetic things of not putting loud instruments or cymbals next to open mics or next to things that are going to cause feedback or anything like that. But also on the other side of it is you do want them to have good sight lines, meaning I don't want my drummer too far away from my MD or from the bass player, and they can't develop this synergy while they're playing. Because being able to, and you just mentioned it, being able to communicate non-verbally, to communicate with your eyes or communicate with your body, to, again, because if we're in service, a lot of times, if we don't have access to the callback mic, and we have to do a lot of things verbally, you just want to make sure that your setup is such that you can accomplish the type of musical synergy that you need.
Great. One thing that is very important, can we speak to the issue of the purpose of our instrument? What is the purpose of each instrument? Could you be very kind? Maybe Koda, you can take about 3 instruments, which is very common in our churches, and speak to the purpose. And Dr. Oscar will take other ones you left out, and he would also speak to what is the purpose of the keyboard. And today, after the keyboard, I want to go into the question of how well we use our keyboards in church, because it's something I've been fighting some of my guys. You have, for example, a whole montage sitting on your lap, and the same tone since we bought the montage. It's just one tone.
Messi
So
said a lot.
it's something I'm a worship leader. I want to know more. But tell us the purpose of the keyboard, guitar, drums.
Okay, so you know what? It depends on the kind of music that is done in the particular church. And then again, even it depends on the song we are playing and what kind of genre it is.
Okay, but
if we are doing
a general one first, then you go to
let's take a Hill song. If we're doing no Hill song comes to mind readily. Let's say we are doing the give me one, please. I mean, in Hill song music, what a beautiful name it is. Great. So what a beautiful name it is. Okay, the parts hold the song from the very beginning. We have the warm parts, the analog stuff, and then the sweeping parts. They hold the song. Piano is not too loud in it from the beginning, but once we hit, we have the guitars driving in. So the role of the instrument changes in this particular kind of music. It changes as the music goes along. So the piano is not what is holding the song down. It's rather the parts that are holding the song down, and the guitars come in later to give it the drive. The drummer virtually keeps time. The bass guitarist supplies the root note in this kind of music. Contrast it with a song like what song can we use? Maybe the choir is singing Total Praise. That song was written with a classical, Richard Smallwood is more classically trained. So piano is the root of the song. So there can be a string playing, there can be an organ, but it needs to be toned down for that classical piano to sit on top of that kind of music. In the same way, that kind of music, the drums and the bass are more of keeping, the drum keeps rhythm, the bass applies a root note, and that is it. If you compare it to any of Hezekiah Walker's kind of music, the bass supplies a solid groove, the drum plays another groove, and then the choir sings on top of the groove. And in Hezekiah's music, the piano is not expressive all over the place. It's a lot of it is just groove. Keep that groove running. Power belongs to God. Just keep that groove going, and then the choir would sit on top of. So I think it depends on the genre that the song falls in. Then you can't give any instrument a particular role.
Okay, so Koda, let's come to a simple worship song. You are Alpha and Omega. We worship you. We are doing worship Sundays.
Again, great question. So that's how come maybe sometimes having a producer's mindset too helps. During rehearsal, we need to decide on how we want that song played. So you are Alpha and Omega. How do we want to play? Do we want to play TCM, or are we going to play like the original? So that we decide what will be the role of the piano. If you listen to the original, I think they had a bright organ, a churchy organ in the background in the original recording that was done. But you can decide you don't want that sound, but you want it maybe more with a pad or a piano. So I think during the rehearsal, the music director, you must, and I think that's where sometimes your problem comes from with the band, that I think you should define what sound you are looking for per song. Because when we go to the restaurant, we don't eat the same food till the end. It will be boring to hear the same thing from beginning of service to the end. The genres must change.
Say it again. Let me go to Oscar. Let me go to Dr. Oscar. The genres must change. We can't eat the same. We can't eat salad from morning till evening. Thank you. Wow.
Absolutely. So your question is, what is the place of the instruments, or what is the importance of the instruments, or what is the purpose of the instruments?
Purpose of the various instruments and their sound in our worship. Got
it. So all our instruments have spiritual base in Old Testament worship. You know, no, the piano was not the piano that we know today, but there was a lyre, there was the harp, there were the string instruments, there were the horns, there were the percussion instruments, the tambourines. And the significance of these instruments is, so a couple of things. So let's take wind instruments, horn, and using, if I were to put it in a very spiritual connotation, I would put it like this: that the breath of God that has been breathed into me, He is using that to breathe life into this instrument.
Okay.
And so now the importance of using my breath to breathe life into this instrument, which is the reason why they would sound the shofar, because this was the sound, that breath sound, again, going into the atmosphere, reverberating into the atmosphere. String instruments, so piano is a string instrument, a guitar, all of that, these strings. One of the very interesting things about string instruments is, to tune them, you have to tighten them. And so part of the spiritual connotation is, to be in tune, I have to be under some stress in order for me to get perfect harmony out of my life, out of my sound. And if we can't, as musicians, cannot find the spiritual connotation of that, then I don't know what else to say.
I think you spent too much time with the bishop, man.
Because he's preaching with all the.
You're beginning to sound like him. You're beginning to sound like him.
I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot. But it is the purpose of that. So we use the string instruments because it's anthropomorphic. It is a picture of how God strums us. What is God? If God were to play your instrument, what would you sound like? If God were to play your life in front of a congregation of people, would you be in tune? Could the sound you make deliver people, or could he trust that the sound that he strummed from your life was that was filled with his glory? Or would you be a distraction? Would the notes that you play bring glory to his name or dishonor him?
Wow.
And I think when we put our hands to instrument, whether it is a keyboard, a drum, a bass, a harp, an organ, a trumpet, whatever it is that we use to give honor back to him, we should never fall into the place of trying to figure out how does it fit? How does that instrument fit? But more so, how am I fitting? Because I am the instrument that he made. This is just the tool to then convey what he put down on the inside of me in these different forms. But ultimately, this instrument is going to play either in tune or out of tune based on my execution. And ultimately, in all our lives are going to be either in tune or out of tune based on our execution of the word of God and his principles. And I have tried to, there's an old hymn that says, "Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy praise. Strings of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise." And so I love that, because in understanding that I am the instrument that God made, I understand that sometimes I can cause myself to be out of tune. By my choices, my decision, my actions can cause me to be out of tune. And the way God gets me back in tune is he allows my strings to be put under stress. Because only through the tuning of my strings, through the tuning of my life, through the trials and tribulations that worketh patience and far greater exceeding glory, only then can I be tuned to a frequency that will get God glory. I could go, I mean, I was working on a book that was talking about frequency, talking about notes, talking about chords and minors and the importance. And I don't want to open the can of worms because we'll be here for a while, but we have to understand the importance of what we play, not just the instrument, but the importance of the chords that we play, the importance, whether in a service, whether I should be playing major chords or minor chords. What am I doing? Because I could be disrupting the flow of the spirit if I play the wrong thing at the wrong time. Because all those chords are built on spiritual principles. The 1, the 3, and the 5 represents the Holy Trinity, represents God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. God the Son is in the middle because he is the link between the two. We have God the Father, and then came God the Son right there. And then he sent the Holy Spirit on the top. He rounds it out. And so imagine what happens when I try to diminish the work of the cross. When I take that 1, 3, 5 chord and I lower the 3, it changes the major chord to a minor. What does that mean spiritually? That means anytime I try to diminish the work of God, I take his work and I take it from being a major sound to a minor sound, and it doesn't sound pure anymore. I have to put Jesus back in his place. I have to honor the cross, because it's only when they're all sequenced to each other do I get what is called a major chord.
Are you for real?
I don't
Are you for real?
I don't want to open that can of worms.
This is too much.
Edwin, we need to close. We need to close. This is overload, man.
I don't want to open that can of worms.
Let me ask my 2 questions. One will go to Koda, and the last one, the second one will go to Dr. Oscar. And then if you have questions, please show by your blue hand. we are going straight into the question time. After this, Koda will answer this one, Dr. Oscar. Koda, my question to you will be,
Yes, sir.
what do we do to resolve a bad modulation in a typical play? If we're playing and we were supposed to modulate and the singers went somewhere and the band to went somewhere, what do we do? This is in the context of a good directorship or coordinator. Dr. Oscar, your question will be, what are the 5 qualities as a music and art director at where you sit? What are the 5 qualities you would look out or you will share with us about the making of a good band coordinator? Whether he's the MD or he's the head of the instrumentalist, what will be the 5 qualities that makes a good band coordinator? If I want to be, what are the things I should start working on, I should start looking out for? So let me start with you, Koda. This is a practical situation.
Okay.
You can expand it and know if what do you say?
Yes, please. I would say that majority of the modulations that we do during praise and worship are either a semitone or a full tone. Majority of them lie within there. If you go to the older integrity stuff, like lift him up, that one has a minor third. I mean, but those ones are not too common. But majority of them are a semitone and a tone. So this is my thing. If the band, if they are saying the singers missed the modulation, they won't be too far. You see, that's the thing. They wouldn't be too far. It was a tone modulation and they did a semitone or vice versa. And so this is where you need somebody, 2 things. I would say that either you have somebody with perfect pitch in the band who can quickly say that, no, that's a C sharp that they are in, and then quickly we all join them in C sharp, and most importantly, we must join them on the same measure of the bar so that it doesn't sound disorderly. I'm sorry, I'm always talking about order, but it's like that. But we have to join them at the same measure of the beat. What I mean by this is to say, holy are you, Lord God Almighty. You are holy. And we can tell that, what was that? So holy are you. Then on Lord God, all of us need to nail that thing. Boom! Then it sounds clean. Nobody would even notice that there was some indecisive moment of harmony. But I think where we sound funny is when one person is trying to get the note and the bass guitarist is gliding from top to bottom. That thing is chaotic.
Great. Wow, thank you.
That is chaotic.
Thank you. Dr. Oscar.
So your question was 5 qualities of the making of a good music director, band director.
Yeah.
So I think one quality, and this is in no order of qualities. There's no order of top to bottom. One quality that I think one must possess to be a good director of anything, whether it's band, choir, music, is that you have to have a love for people. It is impossible to be the glue of an entity. So if you're a band director, you are the one that draws everybody together. If you're a music director, you are the one that pulls all together. If you're a choir director, same thing. So if you don't have a sense of love and respect for people, it's going to be hard for you to unite them in order to create something that has synergy and has harmony. So, and so as simple as it sounds, a lot of people just don't like people. They, there are some musicians that I know, some singers, musicians, that they just don't like other people. They would rather just do their thing leave me alone. And so, you know, I wouldn't put them in a position as a band director, music director, because uniting gifts are important. As I said earlier, creators can be extremely difficult to deal with. And so if you don't have the ability to unite people around a common thought or idea, then you won't be very successful in being this type of director. Number two, you have to have creativity. People want to follow someone who is creative. Now, that does not mean that you have to be the juice behind all of the creativity, but you have to be able to either be creative or to expand creativity. That means if I'm in a session and, you know, I'm working with an artist or I'm working with a band and we're trying to come up with some way to breathe this song differently or to speak this song, they're looking to you, to me, for the creative idea. And sometimes it's just setting the course. Sometimes it's, you know what, hey guys, let's think in terms of making it a lot more open. Okay. And then now I allow other ideas to come in. Well, oh man, well, I think we could do this. I could think we could do that. But again, they took their cue from me. So the idea of having access to creative ideas and understanding how to use that creativity. Number three, you need to be a good communicator. Communication in anything is important. And so sometimes people are good at their craft, but they're not good at communicating. I know some musicians that can play the paint off a wall, but if you ask them to hold a conversation, you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, are you serious?" Like, it's because they're not communicators. Because they are good at executing. They're communicators and they're executors. And you have to know which role serves the person best. And a lot of times I have seen a lot of bands, a lot of choirs go down because they had the roles reversed. They had somebody that was great at executing, trying to be a band director. And they had somebody that was only meant to execute in the place that, no, they had somebody that had the creative ideas, but are only in a place to execute. And it frustrated them. So if you're going to be a band director, music director, you have to understand the art of communication. And here's a key. Here's just a nugget. This is a free nugget for everybody. Now, normally I charge for these nuggets I'm going to give you, but this is because we all friends on here. This is a free nugget.
Lay it on us.
The art of communication is being multilingual. Now, what does multilingual mean? Do I have to speak Spanish and what's the what did my friends say in Liberia? There's this the slang or the I was trying to understand. They started when they went to talking, I couldn't understand. It was the native. It'll
you
come
mean
back.
Pidgin English?
Yeah, well, it was sort of like Pidgin English. Like
Creole. Somebody answered it right. It's called Creole.
Yeah. Okay. So does it mean that I have to speak Creole and speak Spanish and speak French? No. Multilingual in this context means I have to learn how everyone communicates and be able to communicate at their level. So, for example, I have my music staff. I have learned how they all communicate. One person is who I call, he's a first mention person. So I don't care what you say to him, he will always remember the very first thing you said to him. And for some reason, he will always come back to that. So I could say, hey, we're going to sing Lord, You Are Good. And then 5 minutes later, I want to sing You Are My Strength. And then when we get time to do it, he'll start playing Lord, You're Good. And I said, wait a minute, I changed. He said, no, you said we're going to sing Lord, You're Good. I said, no, but you remember I came back and told you are my strength. No, you said we're going to sing Lord. No, that's the first thing I said. Now, his language is he locks into the very first thing you said. So how do I communicate with him? I have to make sure that when I say something to him, that it is my definitive decision. Because I know it's going to be hard for him to divorce himself from that first thing I said. And if I want him to succeed and do well, then I have to make sure that I'm not communicating a whole bunch of ideas to him, because he doesn't process that way. I need to tell him my final idea, and that's what he can run with. Then I have another musician where I can give him something and I can say, he doesn't like to be boxed in. So when I say, okay, I want it to sound like this and be like this and be like this and be like this, that frustrates him, because he likes to be expressive and he likes to take the general idea and expand on it, and he can. So how do I communicate with him? I say, hey man, I want this to sound, I want it to have kind of a very slow groove feel, but I want it to build. Take it. And that's all he needs. Okay. Then I got somebody else where I can spit to him an idea, another idea, another idea. And so learning how to communicate with all that you serve is crucial. Learning the ways that they communicate and not making everybody adjust and adapt to your communication style. I am a very black and white communicator. You can tell me something right now, if it changes in 5 minutes, I'm okay. I'm easy. I can divorce myself from it. And I don't need all of the details. I am not, okay, what time does it start? What time does it end? Da, 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 da. Just give me the basis of it. I'm smart enough to figure this out myself, or find it if I need to, or ask you the questions if there's something that I don't know. But I can't communicate to everybody based off of what works for me, because then I fail to meet their needs as their director. And so that's the fourth thing. Understanding what your job is as a band director or music director. It is not to appease you. It is not to create a system that works for you. It is to understand I am creating a system that can function without me. The greatest directors are the ones that create systems that can function without them. Meaning, hey, if I'm a band director at a church, if I'm not there, I know it's still going to go well, because I created a system that is so functional that even if I'm not there, my friend Sharice Barron is on. Hey, Sharice. Now, she is the real genius. Now, I'm just an imposter. She is the real genius right there. She is truly a genius. I'm going to come back to the last 2 points, but I just want to brag on her. This sister graduated from Yale with her master's and from Harvard with her doctorate degree in African American worship studies. She is the real deal. That's our Nubian queen right there, Sharice Barron. She is holding it down. I'm so proud of her. Love her. She is the real deal. Y'all give it up for Sharice.
Thanks for coming, Sharice. Thanks for coming.
Yes. Let me tell y'all, she went, I love my people. I love my people. And especially when we can go into places that they don't think we belong and excel. And Harvard, all of us probably have heard of Harvard University. Harvard is the school of all schools in the United States. It is. And my sister right here went there and kicked butt in Jesus' name.
Oh, did you just curse?
Oh, I said kick butt, kick butt. That's no curse. I said kick butt. That didn't take no prisoners.
I hate you.
She unashamedly loves God. She's a follower of Jesus, and she's a musician and all of that. Okay, so I was just happy to see her. Hey, so back. So yeah. So and then finally, to be and I'm speaking general. So this is not necessarily just in church.
Hold on to that point. Has Sharice been to Ghana before?
I don't know. Sharice, have you been to Ghana before?
Because we know one Sharice who has been to Ghana before. Can she speak up? Yeah, she's the one.
You've been to Ghana?
Yeah. Sharice Barron is.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. It's a small world.
Huh?
How are you doing, Sharice?
I'm doing great, and I miss you all, and I'm trying to figure out how to get back.
Oh, great,
Now,
great, great to have
here,
you.
I thought I'm introducing y'all to her. Y'all already know her. Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's gone ahead of you already. Wow, it's good to have you
I
join
see.
us. It's good to have you join us.
I see. Now y'all have to have me over there. Now, if y'all didn't have my friend over there, y'all have to have me over there.
Yeah. Sherry, stay
Our
in
doors are
there.
always open, you know.
But there's nothing I can tell you that she probably hasn't already told you. So, like, you know, she's a real deal. She's a real deal.
They let me do like you let me do, follow them around and spend time with them, make music with them. Hey, Funky, good to see you too.
That's awesome.
Sherry, could you
That
check
is
your
so
sound?
awesome.
Because we can't hear you clearly. If you could check your sound very well. Just come a bit closer. But let's allow Doc to finish his point, and you stay in there. We'll come to you later. Once the questions are coming up, you can speak to someone.
Yeah. And so, you know, that's so the last one. So we talked, yes, it's a very small one. You know, we talked about loving people, talking about being a good communicator, talking about being creative, being a visionary, a uniter, someone that has the synergy to bring people together. And I think the final, there are probably multiple other things I could say, but I think in importance, a good band director or a good music director has to be someone that's disciplined. I think discipline, we haven't talked about discipline a lot, but discipline is key. Whether you are, as my brother said, structured or non-structured, whether you are schooled or you play based off of your passion. I think where we don't, especially in church a lot, we don't really talk about being disciplined. In that discipline helps us discipline us. So let me give another spiritual concept. Do you know, we talk about tithing, but do you know why tithing is so important? It's not about giving money to God. We understand that God does not necessarily need our money. You know, we tithe or we give an offering to support, you know, the ministries that we're part of. But the spiritual principle of tithe, 10 is the number of law and discipline. And tithing is about establishing a law in your life and having the discipline to carry out that law. That's why God encourages us and wants us to tithe. It's not about necessarily money, but it's about, God, I'm establishing a law. The law in my life is that I give back to God of my increase. And I have the discipline to carry out that law no matter what happens. And when I carry out that law based off the discipline in my life, then God says, I will rebuke the devourer for your sake. What happens when we break the law? Breaking the law means I lack the discipline to carry out this law, and therefore God is not obligated to stay true to his word because I have broken the law with my broken discipline. And so if I'm going to excel in anything, whether it's church music, whether it's secular, whatever it is, whether it's band director, whether it's instrument, if I don't have a law in my life, if the law in my life does not say I'm going to be on time, if service starts at 9 o'clock, I'm going to be on time. If I'm supposed to learn my music, I'm going to learn my music. If I'm supposed to practice, I'm going to practice. That's the law that I establish. I establish that law in my life. It's like the 10 Commandments. It is, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what God said I'm supposed to do. And I'm establishing this law. And along with that law, I got to have the discipline to say, when I'm tired and I want to lay in the bed, no, the law in my life says I got to be on time. And discipline goes into action to say, I got to carry out this law, because in order for God to rebuke the devourer for my sake, I have to live up to the law established in my life with discipline. And if you are serving in a capacity and you are lacking discipline, you are causing the devourer to eat up your crop and your harvest. That is why you're not seeing an increase in your finances. You're not seeing the increase in people asking you to work on projects or do different engagements. You're not seeing the increase because the devourer, your gift, your harvest is being devoured because you lack the discipline to carry out the law that's supposed to be standard in your life. That's why people don't want to follow you. That's why you might have a great gift, but nobody wants to use your gift because your gift is undisciplined, because you're undisciplined in your actions and your ways. And we cannot trust that when there's a law established, when someone says, hey, this is the music to learn, hey, this is the time to be there. When that law is established, we can't trust that the discipline in your life is going to hold you to that law. And so then we would rather use someone who's less gifted but has more discipline, because we can trust that when they're needed to be in place or need to do what they have to do, they're going to be there because they have law and discipline in their life. They have the tithing principle established in their life.
Wow.
And so if I'm going to be a music director, a band director, a choir singer, a musician, a preacher, a pew member, if I'm going to do anything for the Lord, he requires me to have the tablets of the law written on my heart. What is your constitution? What are you saying, God? This is law in my life. And that he's requiring me to hold myself accountable to that by discipline. And his promise to me is, when you do those two things, I will rebuke the devourer. I will cause things not to eat up your harvest. I'll cause you to go through a pandemic, but not suffer, because you had enough law and discipline in your life that I have to honor my word on your behalf. I have to put up a blockade against poverty and against depression and against oppression. Why? Because you cause law and discipline to be active in your life. And as long as that is active, God says, I will rebuke the devourer for your sake.
Amen. Amen.
Wow. Love, a uniter, a creative person, a visionary, a communicator, a person who understands his job, and a disciplined person who has a sense of a law of value. That's one of the qualities that make a good band leader or worship leader.
I said, you know the joke. We can write a whole book out of this session and publish it without paying anything to him.
I'm telling you.
That's just a joke, though.
My notes are here. I'm just writing and writing and writing.
I know, right?
Let's take a spot of music. I'll be right back. Just short minute. I'll be back and we'll go into the questions. Please stick and stay. Don't go away. I will take your questions when I come back, please. So let's hear this music from Niela.
Oh, great.
It'll be my feet. But that's only how it seems. It may look like
Well, that was the
Beautiful
beautiful piece from Niela Kofi. I hope you enjoyed it. The title is I Will Praise.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Let's go to Enchidazi. I'll go to Enchidazi. So this is how the questions will go. Cherise is a matured Christian musician. I know her. So I would allow Cherise to be generous to also speak to any of the things we are speaking about since she's already here. So she's been unmuted, but I would say that the main questions will go to Dr. Oscar and Koda. But this is what we'll do in order not to take too much time. You take one question and then the other person takes the next question. So the best thing we will do is that you have to take note of all the questions because you don't know which one might fall on your plate. And Dr. Cherise, you might want to pass a comment to any of the ones that my big men will say at any time when you feel like doing so. So we'll start with Nchidazi and we'll go to Edwin Dadson, we'll go to Yalseb, Tony. We'll take 10 questions. So let's go.
Okay.
You tell us where you are speaking from, whether it's Accra, Ghana, wherever. Welcome, my brother, Nchi.
Yeah, hello, Edwin. Greetings to all of you. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes, we do.
Clearly, senior.
Okay. I must say that today's session has been very revealing for me. And I must say a very big thank you to Koda and Dr. Oscar. I mean, I just really want to know whether he's a real human being sitting down.
Oh, he ain't.
It's, I mean, that man just sang out my heart totally, you know, some things that I have been personally brooding on. And I think that just to add a word or two, I mean, I think that what I've always known is that we are in this business to complete the work of God and not to compete. And sometimes we tend to have too much competition about me being an instrumentalist, knowing more than you, the singer who is singing, and that you don't know this chord, I know that chord. And so we get it all mixed up and we get up on stage and we can't give a unique tune to the Lord because we are just scattered all around, you know. And so my question goes to Dr. Oscar. You know, you know, you made it sound so spiritual yet being a very technical person. So I wanted to find out the importance of your spiritual depth as a band leader or as a music director. But sometimes I feel some directors focus too much on the skill and downplay the spiritual depth. I want us to, get that understanding. How important is that? So thank you, but thank you very much for the words you've given to us this evening. I mean, they've been awesome. And Koda, I realized that you were not even contributing at some point, other asking him questions. And I think that even brought out a lot of things that we needed to hear. Thank you, guys. Edwin, that's a wonderful one. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Edwin Dadson. I want to just say that we are asking 10 questions, so we'll get to everybody. So straight away 10 questions. We take all of them and then they will answer. So let's go to Edwin Dadson. Edwin Dadson Amwa.
Hello, Pastor Ed. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Welcome.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're learning a lot from. I'm speaking from the oil city, Takoradi.
Yay!
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of good things happen in Takoradi.
I'm telling you, bro.
All right. So, my question, Okay, a follow up to what the first questioner said. It has to do with musicians, instrumentalists actually building some kind of spiritual depth because when David was called to from the wilderness, playing to the audience of one, to God, and then Saul having evil spirits, and then somebody suggested that, okay, there's a young guy in the wilderness, he's skilled and he's anointed. So when he plays, demons can leave a man. I think that most of musicians now are missing that bit of, okay, spend a lot of time developing your skill, build the chords, build the licks, build the skills, and then neglect the aspect of being anointed, neglect the aspect of getting to the point where you can play that chord and the demons will flee. So to speak to building that spiritual tenacity, which also kind of links to why we have still the issues of a lot of pride, a lot of contention, a lot of lust in music ministries. You find the bass player sleeping with the alto singer because I think the spiritual depth or the spiritual foundation is lost somewhere. So maybe you can help us with how to build that spiritual bit so that you don't get up being caught in all these spiritual deficiencies. And then my second question will go to Koda, or maybe Dr. Oscar can help us. It's with regards to the payment of musicians.
Hey, brother.
From church to church, from ministry to ministry, there are varied ways of treating musicians. Some people may be very skilled, but yet also say, okay, I really don't want to get paid for this. And there are others too who may not even be up there, but will still insist that, hey, Charlie, the brother in the other church is getting 1,000 Ghana. What are you guys doing for me? So where do we place that, and how do we, get to reward people sufficiently in church and in other ministries? These are my two questions.
Great. Thank you, Edwin. Thank you for coming. All right, let's go to Yao Sebs. So Tony, stand by. Yao Sebs, please.
Hello.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hello,
sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Where are you speaking
Hello. Can you hear me, sir?
We can hear you. Where are you speaking from?
My name is Yao. I'm speaking from Ukraine.
Okay, Ukraine. You may go ahead.
So my question is, it's actually two in one. My question is about choir productions, and my question is, how do you take a written song or a song which is written by maybe someone who's in your choir and then turn it into something which the whole choir can sing and becomes like a song for the choir, like in terms of production, maybe when you guys have a concert or something, to take that song to make it a song for the choir. And then my second question is, in Ghana, I'm studying here, so I come to Ghana for vacation. So in Ghana, we don't use a lot of stems in church. So my question is, how do we, is it necessary to play exactly what was played on the record, or we can embellish it whilst we've got the structure of the song down?
Oh, thank you so much. This question is helpful. Thank you. Let's go to Tony. Yao. So you stay in there. We'll answer your question. Thank you for coming all the way from Ukraine. Let's go to Tony and Joe PC. Joe PC, if you are there, stand by. Tony, you've been unmuted.
Yeah, I'm Tony. I'm calling from Cote d'Ivoire.
Cote d'Ivoire, okay.
Yeah. My first question is it good for an instrumentalist to play in church and also to go out as a secular instrumentalist to play there? And how does it affect you as an instrumentalist? And my second question is, if you are an instrumentalist, is it good for you sometimes to sit at home without attending rehearsals and you ask your leader to send you send me the songs and I will learn and come and play it. Is it good? How does it affect the group as an instrumentalist? Thank you.
Oh, great, great. Thank you so much, all the way from Cote d'Ivoire. Let's go to Joe Specie. Joe Specie. And whilst we are listening to Joe, Huawei Y9 Prime 2019, please stand by. Joe,
Hi.
you're muted.
Hello.
Hi, Joe, where are you speaking
Yes,
from?
good evening. Also, this is Joe.
Oh,
This is Joe.
My own
Yeah,
Joe.
This
Okay.
is Joe.
okay.
Married to our sister there.
Okay, so thank you for very insightful discussion. So my question is, we've said that when you are at a place, you should appreciate the music culture that is prevailing at that place.
Yeah.
Is it the same as the music that the pastor in charge likes? Because sometimes music is technical and you have been engaged as a professional. Shouldn't it be your role to sort of bring the entire church, including the pastor, to understand what music pertains or prevails, or what the congregation likes? Should you just, listen to your pastor who may be deficient musically, as it happens in a lot of churches? So when we say the music prevailing, is it what the pastor likes to play? Because sometimes you play some songs and you go into the congregation and they are like, we like this song. Why do you do these songs too much? Why don't you play those kind of songs? And so I don't know if my question is clear enough.
Very clear, very clear. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's go to Huawei Y9. Whilst we are there, Huawei Y9, Reggie Adoko, please stand by. That brings us to question number 7. Can we unmute Huawei, please? Just give us a second. We will sort it out. Hello. Okay. Can we?
Hello.
Okay.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening, sir, and welcome.
Why thank you. My name is Sebastian. Yeah, I'm speaking from Accra. My name is Sebastian.
How are you?
I'm fine, sir.
Great.
It's been a long time.
I know.
Greetings to your panelists, Koda and then Dr. William.
Oscar.
And God bless you, Pastor Edwin, for the good job you are doing. My question is about the church, the discipline in the choir. He happens to be the leader. You have in environments where the instrumentalists and some of the members are paid, it's easy to maintain discipline because they have their source of livelihood of a sort, from the church. So when you caution them, they heed to those cautions. But in environments where the members and everybody in the group are just doing it voluntarily, sometimes it's difficult to call them to caution. You might even have pastors' children in the choir and all that. I just want to find out, how do you maintain discipline when you are in such an environment?
Great. Thank you so much, Sebastian. Let's go to Reggie Adoko.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for the insight. I've got 2 questions and 1 rant. I'll make it very quick.
Where are you speaking from, please?
So I'm calling from Kaswa.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, my first question is, I think my colleagues before me have touched on it a bit, but I'd like to take a step back. That are instrumentally supposed to be paid in the first place, and how do we get pastors to take scripture in its fullness? Because I understand back in the day, the Levites and all were not working; they were paid. They're being paid from the tithe and everything. So if we are emulating something similar, why do we only treat part of the story that we are all supposed to be a tithe, but instrumentalists sometimes are asked to do it for free? And I'm wondering, how should we survive? Yes, and my the other I mean, for those who do it full time, yeah. And on the other side too, how do you maintain that discipline of, if instrumentals are supposed to be paid, how do you maintain that discipline that, okay, if for some reason the money isn't coming, or the church has decided not to pay for a reason, how do I make sure I'm not being moved by the money? I'm not doing this for the purpose of money because I have to eat or any other thing. And well, the last one is a rant that why are we not writing many love songs? And it's a bother because at our weddings and all,
why are we not
writing more love songs? Love songs. We allow the secular guys to corrupt it, and it's more last songs from the videos and everything. Then at our weddings, we are confused as to what to use.
Okay. My answer to your first question, and they will speak to it, is that when you are demanding for the rewards of a Levite, you also have to look for the responsibility of the Levite in the same Bible. You know that? Okay. So think about that. Let's go to, I think then I'll go to what Joe, is it? Matthew Amenuveve. Matthew Amenuveve. Am I right? Yes.
Yes. Hello, good evening. Mateo.
Mateo.
Yes, I'm calling from Pong.
Okay, great.
Okay, my question is, how can, as a band leader, how can, even though you don't have any skills in instruments and anything, how can you act efficiently? Are you supposed to go to a school in order to learn, or because actually for me, I think you not having any skill would actually make you in a way deficient, as our panelist Oscar Williams already said. Also, yeah, basically that's it.
Okay, thank you. Let me go to Doris Hyde. Doris Hyde.
Okay, hello.
Hi, Doris. You're welcome.
Thank you. God bless you all. My question is that what happens when you find yourself among controversial MD and the instrumentalists are doing their thing, the MD is doing his thing, and then you become confused in there as a chorister. You are trying to be disciplined, but in this case, even the leaders themselves are indisciplined. So please, how do I come about this as a chorister? Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. Let me go to Maoyam Kwesi Claus. Maoyam Kwesi Claus.
Hello. Hello.
Hi. Is that
good evening.
Maoyam? Yeah, evening.
Yeah, please, this is Mauriam. I'm talking from Volta, Keta.
Okay.
Yeah, please, I want to find out, me as a bassist playing alongside with a keyboardist, and the keyboardist is playing his low note, which are heavy, almost like the bassist is not there. What am I supposed to do? And the second one is, we are supposed to play, and the keyboardist is playing some, I don't know, some heavily chords, some divine diminution things. I don't know what's going on. But I know the song is direct song. We move from one, then we go like this. What am I supposed to do in those situations? Thank you very much.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, Dr. Oscar Koda, is that enough for you, or you want me to take some more before you? Because sometimes the questions are related, so that when you are speaking, you just speak to them. Should I take some more? Let me just hear from them, then we can go. Our time is really running, so we can.
Our time is running, and I actually have
a meeting,
another Zoom meeting with a school.
Right. So let's take these ones. Let's just take from so we can wrap up. Okay, so we will start with the first question: the balance of spirituality and technicality for MDs from Yao. The first question. Can you speak to that? And Koda, you speak to the next question, and in that order, alternatively.
Right. So the balance of spiritual. So I think, and some of these were wrapped up, like you said. So indeed, it is important for any leader, whether it is a band leader, someone leading a choir, or even people in other type of leaderships, to be spiritually in tune and spiritually aligned. You know, what are ways that we get there? Someone mentioned it before, prayer and fasting, but I think it is that, and it also includes a few things. Understanding what your call is. A lot of times I've seen people lead without a clear understanding of, what am I called to lead? What am I called to do? Am I called to be a carbon copy of the person that was before me? Am I called to mimic somebody else's ministry? Oh, well, we want to be like Hillsong, or we want to be like Potter's House, or we want to be like this, and we're going to lead like them. Those are improper ways. Part of being spiritual and in tune is, God, I want to lead from a place of divine inspiration and revelation. And I want to know what it is that you're saying to me, to this ministry, that we are supposed to embark on and impact in the world. What fingerprint are we supposed to leave of heaven that we're the only ones that can do it? And in terms of being spiritually connected, it is understanding that the people that I lead are counting on me to have a relationship with God where I can both discern and understand the moments that we're in and how to move and to navigate. I think what we're finding out in this pandemic is that a lot of our relationships are being tested because we don't have the commonalities of things that we've become accustomed to give us that buffer. We don't have the applause of people. We don't have people to patting us on the back. We don't have the, oh, you really sound good or whatever. We don't have any of that in a lot of these places. And so we're having to really utilize, God, what is it that you want me to say? And how do I lead a people who are scared and fearful because of the times that we're in? And so if you don't have a strong foundation in the Lord, if there is not a strong conviction and connection, that you as a leader have a prayer life and have a consistent communication life with God, you're not going to be able to lead people through these treacherous waters. The only reason Moses was able to lead the Israelites is because even if it meant him being away from them, he was going to make sure that he got divine assignment from God. And the only thing that messed up Moses from entering into the promised land is that he allowed the people to take his eyes and his focus and his mindset off of God and then put it on the things that were going to appease and satisfy them. And we learn a great lesson from Moses as a leader, that never get so caught up by the people that you lead that they cause you to miss the assignment of God by trying to make them happy. Moses striking the rock to get water, ultimately canceling him from walking into the promised land. He was disqualified because instead of following the voice of God, he was trying to use old tactics to bring the people something that they said they needed. How many of us leaders are using old tactics to satisfy our singers and our musicians instead of listening for the voice of God and saying, you know what, that's not where we're going. I got to be sensitive to his voice, and I have to go even if you don't understand it. So that's my answer to that.
Right. Koda, the question of the spirituality.
But the number 2 ties to the number 1. So I think it answers
so let's
it
go to
well.
number 3. Payment of musician.
Number 3, Pastor Edwin, I've already spoken about this on social media.
So let's hear
I'm on to my brother here. I'm on to him.
Say again.
Dr. Oscar, what did you say?
I didn't catch that.
Dr. Oscar, what did you say? Can you hear me?
No, I said I'm on to him. I'm on to what he's doing. I'm on to what my brother's doing. I'm on to him.
So you see, Edwin. So you know what? Can I take number 4 and then Doc will take number 3? Payment of you. Number 4 talks about turning your ideas into productions. I mean, I think that fits more into my world.
Yeah.
I would say that it depends on the scale to which you want to take it to. The question said that they want to learn some of the songs that, and Pastor, when you do that, you write songs from time to time, and then you teach the band, and the whole church does it. Yeah. But you know that sometimes when we want to record it for real, there's a need to take it a notch higher. And that is not to say that the original band is doing anything inferior, but there are 2 ways of looking at it. When you're producing it for church, there's a way to produce it. And then when you want to like produce it for the whole world to listen, there are a few other parameters we need to consider.
Exactly.
You get a thing. So you need to look at your production. Are you doing it for your church, or you want to do something that you're going to take to the whole world, and then you need to know what to do. The B part of his question, he asks that when we learn songs, should we play them exactly, or we are allowed to embellish them? I know you're going to tease me over this, but I think we must talk about this thing before it is done. During rehearsal, we need to talk about it. We are going to do what a beautiful name it is. Are we going to do it like the original, or we are allowed to play some chord changes in there? And whatever we agree to at rehearsal, please don't go on a different tangent when we go on stage. No. That's where my problem is. If we all agree to go on the tangent, then we all go on that tangent. But you can imagine what a beautiful name. I think it starts on a 1 chord. So if you decide to start it on a 4 chord, I mean, to make everybody's head turn and go like, what in God's name was that? So let's agree even when we want to go off board. I'm done.
My answer to the first, okay, my point, my contribution to the first point is
Please go on.
that sometimes you would have an idea, bounce it around the church instrumentalist, but like you said, when you are now going to studio, sometimes if your band is not solid, it doesn't mean take them to the studio to by all means go and record. It might mean you may have to ask other people, you know, outside the church who are pros to help you in the recording to play. And sometimes we'll be, for some reason, just to appease everybody, we carry the whole band to the studio, and we are forcing to do this project with the band when the band is not really competent to produce our own song, you know, that kind of thing.
I said, you know, I wanted to bring this issue up because I've heard the Potter's, what's the name again?
Potter's House.
Potter's House. I've heard the band play and they are awesome. But let's go. I don't know if Dr. Oscar was there at that time, but let's go back to the recordings they did with Kevin Bond. I mean, Kevin Bond brought Jeremy. He brought Jonathan Dubois. He brought, I forgot who was on bass for that one. It was Maurice. You are getting the thing. So he carried the whole band to play the recording. But I don't think that is to say that the Potter's band is not good. But then the producer of the album has a vision that he knows what team he can work with to achieve that. And he's played with Jeremy for, I mean, I'm good friends with Jeremy by God's grace. And I know he's played with Uncle Jay for years. So Uncle Jay understands the sound that Kevin is looking for. And sometimes it's better than you picking the church squad and frustrating them. Right. I don't like what you're playing. I don't like the group. I don't like this. That's too much pressure. Yeah, Michael Burial was also playing on that. Okay. So I think sometimes when we are doing productions, we must separate them from church administrations. They are 2 different things.
Maybe Oscar can say a word to that whilst he answers this musician payment question. But could you just touch on what Koda just spoke about this?
Well, and refresh me with the question. I just want to make sure I'm sticking true to the question because I can.
The question is about church production. I'm saying, for example, what we are saying is if we are going to produce a song, a CD, an album. Yes, we've been doing this song in church, with the instrumentalists and all that. But maybe when we say we are going to produce an album, the skill and the level of skill we need, we may not have to use the church bassist. We may not have to use the church pianist, use somebody else. What do you say about that? How to go about these things?
Yeah, so I'll try to wrap both of those into one answer. So my brother answered right. It's a sticky situation because a lot of times, musicians feel if I'm serving at a church or if I'm playing, why am I not good enough to play on the production? And I'm good for Sunday, but I'm not good for that. And I think it goes back to the leadership. It goes back to how we communicate what we're doing. When my church did a recording, I'm a musician, but I didn't play a note because I understood what I was trying to accomplish. But also, we had musicians that we didn't use. And it was my responsibility to communicate to them the reasons why. I think people can deal with things when you have integrity and you're honest and you're upfront and you let your reasons be known. Now, does that always solve? No, because we're human. And you cannot take away the aspect that someone that serves feels a little undercut if you use someone else and underappreciate it. And so my job is to make sure that if this is a decision and I think is best for the recording, a couple of ideas to people to use. Sometimes the reason is if I get Koda, I am saying I want him to do this project. And I am giving him the leeway to use who he gels with best. So it's not I'm not using you because you're not skilled. It is just I'm putting this in the hands of someone and they're using someone that they are used to and that they have synergy with. That's a great explanation. Then you taking it from a competition with me and somebody else to, oh, well, I get it. We all have people that we like to play with. Or, hey, for this, we're really trying to go toward this type of sound. And so what I want to do is to be able to create this. But then after we do that and we do the record, then we as a band, we're going to take it and we can flip it and interpret many different ways. But I'm going to do this for here because I don't want our team to have to deal with doing the production and doing Sunday morning because it may get to be too much. So I want two separate teams doing this because I have stuff for this team to do that needs to not be interrupted. And I have stuff for this team that will worry just about this. But all of that, again, communication and honest communication. And then sometimes it is really just the black and white of, hey, I know when I was a young musician, I was singing in the choir and we did a record and I said, oh, can I just play one song? And they said, no. I mean, they just said no. Like it was, and it hurt me. It hurts. And it wasn't until years later that I understood. Oh, you didn't have the skill set to play that. But sometimes it's being honest and saying, your service is very valued, and what we do on Sunday morning is very important. But the skill set that it takes to do a live recording or a studio recording is a different skill set. It is someone that can play consistently the same thing every time. If we got to do it over and over again, it's someone that can stay to a click track. It's someone that can keep time because the more we have to start over, the more money. And so I would just rather use people who are just experienced in that. And now it doesn't mean that you can't sit in and learn because maybe the next time after you have sat in and studied them, then we can use you. But I don't want to just, because this is your first time or second time and you don't have a lot of experience in this area, I want you to grow more and get the skill set so that I can use you. Now, what have I done? I have empowered that musician to know that I still care about you. I still value what you bring to the table. I'm being honest with you and saying, hey, I don't know if you have the skill set. I'm not saying that you can't do it. I'm saying let's grow in this thing together. and then there will always be a next time. In terms of paying, and I'm trying to remember the question. I think the question was about
should we be paid as like a church band?
And how
the
much?
people doing production.
No, how much will depend on where you live.
Yeah. I withdraw that one. I mean, let's go ahead with should we be paid? And what should we look at when we are paying, you know?
What should be? I mean, that's a hard question because it's like he said, like it depends on where you are. It depends on where you're serving. It depends on the budget of the church. Like what I will say is don't expect an amount of money that you don't have the skill set or expertise or experience to back up. Oh, I want to get, $1,000 a week. Well, can you play in every key? No, I just play in C.
No, that was a bad one.
Well, can you play at least 3 keys? No. But I can, now ain't nothing wrong with transposing. I'm not saying anything is wrong with transposing, but I'm saying.
Did you say there's nothing wrong with transposing? Please take it back. Please take it back. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's in the Bible. Matthew 22:22. Do not transpose.
Let's go ahead.
Koda, we have to meet soon. Me and you will have a ball together. You are hilarious. You are hilarious. That's my brother. You are hilarious. So I will not take it back. There is nothing wrong with transpose. Now I don't transpose, but there is nothing wrong with transpose but here's the thing though. If I were a musician that had to transpose, it's no problem. But I wouldn't go to a church expecting to be paid along the same lines of a musician who's mastered that skill set. Okay. And so a lot of times I think we ask for things that we don't have either the experience or the skill set to back up, but yet we want the church or the organization or whoever to invest money into us that we have not really earned. So you have to do a true evaluation of your gifts, of your talents, of your expertise, of your experience, of your resume, and you bring that to the table and make it comparable. I'm not going to go to a church that has only 100 people and expect, $2,000 a week, right? Because that's just not realistic. And then maybe there are other ways. I'm looking at the question because maybe not answer the question. Please, the question was, should instrumentalists be paid? Those that are doing it full time. Okay, thank you. See there, they're getting us together. Well, it depends, and again, but it still stays the same because if you're doing it full time, the first here, this is real easy. The first thing is this: whatever you negotiate or whatever you agree on, that's what you should do. You should not complain if I agree to do something. And then I get in it, and then I don't want to do it anymore, and now I want to complain about, I'm doing it full time. If I agree to do that, then I should stick to what I agreed. If they ask me to change to something, if they ask me, hey, you're doing this part time, can you do it full time? Then I should negotiate. Well, if you want me to do it full time, then I need to be compensated. Sometimes the Lord will tell you, or sometimes you'll feel led to say, you know what, I just want to sow my talent, my gift into this ministry because I know at this point you're not able to do for me as you would. I think if you communicate that and be honest, I don't think that we should be dishonest and then be mad when the ministry is not able to do something that we didn't negotiate or agree on in the beginning. If you're working full time and you haven't gotten paid, either you didn't agree to something in the beginning, or you allowed them to do that, and now you're mad because somebody else you learned was getting money and they're full-time, and now you say, well, wait a minute. If they full-time and getting paid, I should be getting paid because I'm full-time. You can't gauge stuff off of that.
Right.
That's that, and I don't want to be offensive to anybody, but that lacks integrity right there. because ministry is not about comparing. Ministry is not a comparison. I can't compare what I'm doing over at my church to what Sharice is doing over at her church and then say, well, they doing that for Sharice over there. Why? No, that's not what ministry is about. If God assigned me to this place, then I have to handle business where I am. And if I am going to walk in integrity, and if it's something that's going to bother me, if I don't feel comfortable working full time and not getting paid, then I need to be honest about that. And if they say, well, you know what, we can't pay you full time, this is what we can, then I have to be honest and say, okay, I will accept that, or no, I won't accept that. But where we lack integrity is if you say, no, yes, I'll accept that, and then you go and talk about that. That's off.
Right.
Now you're out of order. Now you have broken the law that you set in your life, and that's why you're not going to see increase. Because now you didn't have the discipline to stick by the law that you established. You said yes. You said, I will play for this amount, or I will play for free. And then you didn't allow the discipline in your life to live up to that law. And so therefore now you don't see any increase anywhere because the devourer has come in and eaten up all your harvest.
Okay, thank you. Let's try and wrap up in the next maybe 10 minutes. The next question from Cote d'Ivoire, Tony was asking whether we could play in church, both in church and in secular places. Could we speak to that one quickly? Koda, can a musician play?
Oh, why me? Why me?
I know, right?
Can we do the church gig and do a secular gig? I would say that it depends on your personal. I believe each one of us has a personal covenant with God and how you want to walk with God. You're getting the thing. We have the story of Samson in the Bible, who was given particular instructions. You don't cut your hair, just like me. You don't cut your hair, and then you don't take strong drink. You are getting the thing. That was his covenant. It doesn't mean every judge that came to Israel or every prophet had to do the same thing. No, there are specific instructions. For me as Koda, I do not do secular music. I do only church music. And it is my work with God, and that is what I want to do. But I'll be very honest, nobody is going to go to hell for playing secular, being a secular, what do you call it? Like playing on a secular gig. I don't necessarily think so. But I'll say that it's a personal conviction thing. And I don't want to stamp Koda on everybody's life. But you need to walk with God and be led. Because that's what Romans says. As many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. Be led.
Is the music culture, should the music culture be the same as what the pastor like? If I have been brought in as a professional to make sure I grow the music and make the congregation love the music that we want to bring, the level of music we want them to come to. Joe is asking, is it not the job of the music director to gradually bring even the pastor, even if the pastor thinks otherwise, to bring the pastor and the church to that level? Dr. Oscar, can you speak to that?
I'm gonna let my brother Koda take that.
I would say a big no to that. No, you are not the visionary of the church.
Right.
You are getting this thing, and we can't run two systems in one organization.
Right.
You're getting a thing. So Pastor Edwin is the one that is handling the Zoom session. He told all of us how this thing was going to be run, and that is how it is going to be run. The next time, Koda, you do your Zoom session, if you want to do it differently, do it differently.
Right.
You get a thing. There must be order, my brother. When Genesis, the first thing God did was to create order.
Perfect.
when the Spirit of God moved over the surface of the water. So there's a visionary in the church, and he says that in our church, we want to do Hillsong-colored music. My brother, you were brought in to facilitate the vision. So that is what we are supposed to do. Don't run a different system where you are doing something different from what the pastor is looking for. That is rebellion. I don't believe in that.
Listening to, does that mean you shouldn't listen to feedback from the congregation? Because the congregation is telling you.
The feedback from the congregation, yes, sir, the feedback from the congregation must go to pastor, and pastor would instruct based on what he feels led as the direction to take. But you have no right to make any decisions of your own.
Oh,
no.
Great. Oscar, what do you do about disciplining volunteers? They feel they have come with their gift, they opted to serve, you are not paying them. You can't force them to do what you want. They are just helping you. If you dare them, they will walk out. What do you say? Sorry, okay.
Gotta unmute him.
Okay. Hi, Sharice. I'll come to you very soon. I almost forgot you were in there. Sorry, we're working on your
Oh, no, don't worry. I was just saying you need to unmute Oscar.
Yeah, you had me muted. I couldn't unmute myself. So real fast, and I'm going to have to jump off in a bit. I do want to say a couple of things. I have just enjoyed this immensely, and I hope to stay connected with everybody on here.
Do you mean we can bring you back again?
Absolutely. I would love that. And I would love to hear from a lot of you all. I'm on Instagram. You can find me. It's really easy, Oscar Worldwide.
Yeah.
That's my handle for everything. I'm on Facebook, Oscar Worldwide. I'm on YouTube, Oscar Worldwide. My website is oscarworldwide.com. So it's, if you remember Oscar Worldwide, you could pretty much find me.
Yeah.
So, but I would love to hear, I connect with a lot of people from all over, and I do a lot of sessions. I'm getting ready to do one session real soon with spiritual leaders from around, musicians like we are. So I'm going to include Planet Shakers and some people from the United States.
Nice.
And I would love to include some people from some of my brothers and sisters from Ghana and Liberia and South Africa, trying to get Linda Lonnie on, just to talk about how we are handling ministry during this pandemic. And as a lot of people prepare to go back into church, what are we going to do differently? As we get ready for festivals of 2021 and things of that nature, how it's looking. And I think the interesting thing of this conversation is going to be, because it's going to be from all different parts of the world, the things that we're going to do that'll be alike, and some things that we'll do that will be different. So, you all stay connected. Again, Oscar Worldwide, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, website, all of that. But your question, volunteers. Volunteers are, they're the lifeline of a lot of our ministries. And so what I often try to be responsible for is, I say to myself, these are the people that God has allowed to put in my pasture. What kind of shepherd am I going to be to them? And I understand that we use shepherd in the terminology of pastoring, but in reality, a lot of what we do is pastoring. They come into contact with us more than they come into contact a lot of times with the senior pastor or pastor of the church, and so how do you discipline them? In love and sternly. You don't want to enable bad behavior and bad characteristics, but at the same time, you want to value them. And the one thing, and I will say this, is that with anybody, whether it's a volunteer or the staff person, when people know that when there is relationship, it makes communication on any side of the ball better. I can reprimand you, I can discipline you when you feel like there's relationship between us. And when I say relationship, I'm talking about when there is something invested, when you're more than just a name to me, when you're more than just what you can do in the moment. A lot of times our singers, our musicians are only good for us in the moment because they're satisfying a purpose or a need. And when we don't need that need anymore, then we toss them to the side. And what we have to work to do is find value in them when they are not serving, so that when I want to correct them, they understand that they are valuable to me outside of what it is that they do for the ministry, but as a person. And so when I say, hey, you know what, that was out of order. Hey, you know what, we can't have that. You don't take it personal because you know, but we got relationship. And after this, I'm going to pray for you, and I'm going to pray for your mama, and I'm going to pray for your kids, but I'm not going to let you continue to act a fool in my rehearsal. Yeah, I'm going to intercede for you, and I'm going to, you know what, listen, I'm going to give you gas money, but I'm not going to let you keep showing up late, because there's a thing called law and discipline. And I establish a law, and I cannot allow your lack of discipline to break this law that's established, or we won't see increase when it's time for harvest to come. I got to jump on.
I know. Thank you so much. We want to say thank you from myself.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
And everyone on
Anytime.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting, Koda. I'm looking to hear from you. I want you to hit me up on Instagram so we can talk.
I will.
Thank you all so much. Blessings to Ghana. I hope to see you all really, really soon.
Amen.
Sure. We'll hook up, Dr. Oscar. Be sure we'll hook up.
Okie dokie. Yes, thank you.
So we'll be wrapping up very soon. Let's try and wrap this up, Koda. I have Cherise Baron is here.
Yes, and then we have you too.
Yeah, I know. At this point, I'm just receiving from all of you guys. So, Koda, let's wrap this up. But before you speak, let me go to Dr. Cherise. Dr. Cherise, are you there?
Hello. I am here, and I'm just thrilled to be listening to you all. So
great.
Wonderful to see you again.
Great. Yeah, it's good to see you too. So you've heard us discussing this whole thing about musicians, instrumentalists, band coercion, and the challenges. What would you like to say to us in this direction?
Well, I just want to add to what Dr. Oscar has already said, and what Pastor Koda has already said. I want to make sure that as we think about ourselves as musicians, let's not just be gigging and not consider church just to be a gig. So even as much as we want to be paid, and we should, I mean, that is a right to be paid. We don't want to be mercenaries or just people who are hired but don't have a connection to the ministry that we're serving. So what Dr. Williams was saying was so important, that building of relationship, so that you actually care about what you're doing and you don't feel that it's just something that you can throw away and walk away if the check stops coming.
Wow. Koda, your final words.
My final words are this. I think the highest form of spirituality, in my opinion, is the ability to stay under order. God, I mean, in as much as we love spontaneity, when it happens in nature, it's still governed by laws. The sun does not stay up and decide when it wants to go down. God has apportioned time for it. God has apportioned a time for the moon to come. God said the waters, you can come this far, you cannot go beyond this point. So in what we do as music, if it is to the King of Kings, God has placed all these things there so that the music will be an offering that rises up to him. So let us observe the protocols. There is leadership And apart from leadership, there's structure. And even if we decide to go spontaneous, let us decide to go spontaneous. So that when we enter the auditorium, everything we do is orderly and it brings praise to God. There's nothing wrong with order. It doesn't make you unspiritual. No.
Dr. Cherise, your final words to us before we go.
Well, I think my final word would be, well, first of all, thank you all for letting me even be a part of this conversation. And I too am on all the social media as Cherise Barron. As you can see the spelling of my name, Cherise Barron, you can find me, and I'd love to stay in connection as well. My final word would be simply this: remember that music has great power. Musicians have great power. Music is spiritual. So whether you're doing music in the church or in the club or in some other venue, remember that it has the power to affect the atmosphere. And so we want to make sure that we're walking in God's order, that we are disciplined so that we're tuning our ears to hear God, and we're playing when we go off the script, when we do the spontaneous things, that we're going in the direction that God is leading, so that we can bring healing and peace in the way that David was able to do with King Saul, opposed to creating unrest in people's lives, which music can do as well. So remember, it's spiritual. It's not just talent, but it's deeply spiritual.
Music is deeply spiritual, and it's not just talent. Those are the words from Dr. Cherise Barron, a good friend of ICGC. She's been here a couple of times.
Yes.
And we hope that we would keep this connection going, so that we'll have you one of these days on this platform, so you can bring some of your expertise on board. We love you so much. And Koda, amazing. You never disappoint. I mean, I thank you for your order. Thank you so much for spending this time on the Music Bridge. We are so grateful to you. And also to Dr. Oscar Williams, all the way from Potter's House, creative director. Thank you for your time. We really, really appreciate all the stuff that you shared with us. For those of you who couldn't get your questions answered, this platform would always come every week. And trust me, don't begrudge us. Don't have any pain in your heart if you did not have your questions answered. You always have the opportunity to do it once again. Few things we've learned tonight on the Music Bridge, that the church instrumentalist must be a competent, highly skilled person who is there to facilitate the worship service. We also learned that if you're an instrumentalist, don't hold your church hostage because of your incompetence, to facilitate what you are there to do. Don't hold your church. And if you're a music director, don't allow any instrumentalist to hold the church ransom or hostage. You just have to fire if there is a need to do that. We also learned that you never stop being a student, Koda. You never stop being a student. You always have to learn, because the moment you stop being a student, you shut down and limit your God-given capacity. Quite a number of things. We've also learned about instrumentalists. When Koda, you asked the question about where should the sound engineer fall? Should he be under the music pastor or the music department? And we said clearly yes, because we do about 90% of what we do is music. So if he understands music, it will help. And Pastor Oscar was teaching us about taking charge of the atmosphere, because the Prince of the Air would want you to make sure that what the content will not reach the atmosphere and change what we are in there for. A lot to chew on. Remember, and one of the things I will not forget, gleaning from his experience, he said that for them, they are full-time instrumentalists, and the basis, for example, is not just playing basses Sunday to Sunday. The basis doubles up to handle their endorsement dealings. Their drummer doubles up to handle their e-church choir, stems, and studio production. Their bassist also goes ahead to handle their production and mixing and all kinds of stuff. I mean, if you heard this, if you were here earlier, you heard all the structures from Potter's House. I want you to stay in touch with us. I will share this video and that of yesterday with Mabongi and Niela and Pastor Isaiah on YouTube. This is the Music Bridge, and we are trying to help you cross from where you are to the next level. Thank you so much for being here. God willing, next week we are coming your way again. Wednesday we would have a practical with Mabongi. She's promised, together with her husband, she's just going to teach us, not just talking, but practical rehearsal. We're doing vibrato, we're doing breathing exercise, we're doing tonality, and then we are doing pitch stability. These 4 major things. So don't miss it out. Make sure that you bring your choristers on the platform, God willing, next week, Wednesday, 7 o'clock sharp on the Zoom. On the Thursday, myself, I'll be here to share some few tips on leadership in terms of worship ministry and all that. When we enter June, we have a lot for you, Joe Metal will be speaking to us. Freka Uma will be speaking to us. Brandon will be speaking to us. Beggar is coming on board. A lot of guys want to speak and share their heart with us. We'll bring Koda again. And you remember Pastor Lawrence too has said he wants to come back. So look out for the Music Bridge. God is using this to be a blessing to the church under lockdown. By the time we release the band, your pastors would really expect much, and you would have to give much. I love you all, and until we meet again, stay blessed.
Oh, would you say a prayer for us? Say a little prayer for us.
I will say a prayer for you. Father, we thank you for tonight. We thank you for blessing us. We thank you for the life from your word, and we thank you for the anointing upon the ministry of Koda, Oscar, and Dr. Sherris. We thank you even for the participation of our friends on this platform. We pray that we will grow. We will grow in knowledge, we will increase in faith, we will stay our diligence, we will grow in skills, Father, and we will become better than we are. And let the church of Christ shine all over the world. Let the glory of Jesus be seen. We thank you. In Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So whilst we are logging out, we'll give you some music. We'll see you. Bye.
Now we're here, looking back on where we come from. because you made.
One more time, saying that you
made a way.
When our backs were against the wall.
When our backs were against the wall.
And it
looked as if it was over.
You, Jesus, you made a way.
Made a way.
And we're standing here today.
And we're standing here only because you made
For you moved mountains. You caused walls to fall with your power. You perform miracles. There is nothing, oh no, that's impossible. And we're standing here only because you made say
you move mountains.
Yes, you did, yes, you did.
You cause the walls to fall with your power.
Resurrection power, Jesus. You perform miracles. Nothing, no, 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 no.
And we're standing here only. And we're standing here only because you
The devil tried everything, but we're standing here.
only because you made.
Then we're standing here. Only because you, my Jesus, made a way. Can I get some horns? Don't know how, but you did it.
Don't know how, but you did it.
Said I don't know how, but you did it. Said I don't know how,
but you did it.
I was sinking deep in sin, but Jesus,
But you did it.
no money in my pocket, no food on my table.
Don't know how, but you did it.
I don't know.
I call you my way maker, my strong tower. You made a way.
Hey, I call you my way maker, my strong tower. You made a way. One more before we go. Say, I call you my deliverer, my prince, you're from Unyami. You made a way. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Woo.
Look at me and answer. Oh Lord, my God. Give light to mine eyes. Oh, nothing without you. Look at me, Lord. Look at me and answer. Oh Lord, my God, give light unto mine. Give light to mine eyes. Oh Lord, I'm nothing without you. Nothing without to you. Hey, if you heal me, I know I'll be saved. Heal me, Lord, I'll be saved. Save me, Lord, and I'll be saved. If you heal me, I will be healed. You came to give me life in abundance. Save me. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. It's my bogey crying, oh God. Save me. Hear my prayer. Hear my prayer. Oh, hear me, Lord, I'm calling out to you. Hear my prayer. I will praise you so. In spite of all, no matter the storm, Jesus, you were working. Work for my good, in spite of all, no matter the storm, always working. Jesus is working for my good, yeah. Always working. Ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah. My Jesus is working. No matter the situation or the storm, my Jesus is working, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's working for me. Every day, every second, every minute, every moment, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, Jesus is working, yeah. Work for my good Jesus, work for my good Jesus, yeah, yeah, yeah. no, no. Yeah. Yes, I can see He cares for me. I am His door. He is my key. No one else above you. Nobody else will do. I'll never doubt Your presence. The sky above is evidence that You are God alone, placed upon Your throne. Lord, I know You're so worthy. You always show Your mercy. You're so merciful. Some don't believe it's true. But above the earth, stars, the sky, the moon, there's no one else like You. Lord, there is no one. There's no one else like You. I've searched the Lord, but can't find no one. There's no one else like You. There is no one, yeah. There's no one else like You. I've searched the Lord, can't find no one. No one like You. You filled my heart. You touched my soul. Why You love me, I'll never know. Unconditional. Your love is trials and tribulations may come away, but I know that the Lord will never. You said it yourself that my healer, You will be my Lord and my Savior. I surrender myself unto Thee. Lord, I know You're so worthy. You always show Your mercy. Some don't believe it's true, but above the earth, the stars, the sky, the moon, there's no one else like You. There is no one. There's no one else like You. I've searched all around, Lord, there's no one. There's no one else like You. There is no one, yeah. There's no one else like You. I've searched the Lord, can find no one, yeah. There's no one else like You. There is no one. There's no one else like You. Lord, You are the only one. There's no one else like You. No one else like You. There's no one else like You. There's no one else like You. We love You. We love You. We praise You, Jesus. We praise You. We love You. We love You. No one else like You. We love You. We love You. We love You. We praise You. Lord, we love You. No one else like You. There's no one else like You. There is no one. There's no one else like You. I searched the Lord, but can find no one. There's no one else like You. Lord, there is no one. There's no one else like You. No one else like You. There's no one else like You. No one else like You. No one else like You. There is no one else like You. There is no one else like You. Savior, I come. redemption till when your blood was spilled for my ransom. Everything that once held you, I counted all as lost. Lead me to the cross where your love poured out. Bring me to my knees, Lord, I lay me down. And rid me of myself, I belong to you. Lord, lead me to the cross. Lead me to the cross. At the cross, I surrender my life. I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you. Where you left and right, and my sin washed white. I go low to you. I go low to you. At the cross, I surrender my life. I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you. Where you left right, and my sin washed white. I go low to you. I go low. My hope is found here on holy ground. Here I bow down. Here I bow down. Here I'm open wide. Here, oh Lord, you set my life. Here I bow down. Here I bow. At the cross, I surrender my life. I'm in love with you. Oh, I'm in love with you. Love and right, and my sin washed white. I go low to you. I go lead me to the cross. Oh, lead me to the cross. Lead me to the cross. Lead me to the
I'll just say yes, you lead the way. I'm not afraid of what it means for me to say that this life you gave is not my own. I'm trusting you to hear me, yes, and lead me on. Heavenly Lord, my heart cries out for my little boy and girl to get to know you, Lord. That your life you gave was for our good. You took our pain and bore our shame. Yes, Lord, you did. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. My life is yours. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. My life is yours. Make me a man who stands above the pressures of this world and test you put my way. Give me the strength to walk a straight way, and narrow path you put me on. You're my saving grace. They say it's hard to love one wife. It's an excuse to do the wrong and say it's right. Made me like Christ, the head of the church, full of love and sacrifice for all. You are my hero. You are my father. You are my friend till the end. You are my hero. You are my father. You are my friend till the end. And there is peace when I say yes. I might not see it now, but you save the best for all who trust you and obey. There is an answer. There is an answer. No more delay. There is an answer. There is an answer. No more delay. And I say yes, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, 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 my life is yours. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. My life is yours. Nice.